Greetings, fuckboys and e-girls, I am in a prime and this is the One Piece Iceberg. I went back in time, I saved the pig, more segments were added in the Iceberg due to time travel shenanigans. There are only 2 parts left, so let's just get on with this shit. 4-Cell Theater and One Piece Short. This is kind of a semi-sequel to the Mugiwara Theater segment where I go through 2 other types of comic strips that people won't know about since this is like the 5th tier on the iceberg. If you know any of this, then you are just as gone as I. Before there was the Straw Hat Theater, there was Luffy Pirates 4-Cell Theater. Bunch of short 4-page stories that usually are comedic in nature, kinda like Garfield. Each of them tell one-off stories about the 8 Straw Hat members. Luffy wanting to eat, Zoro getting lost, Sanji getting sick from being around men all the time, a retelling of Momotaro starring Usopp, Nami as a queen making a wish upon a star, the very first appearance of Chopperman, Vivi discovering a genie in a lamp, and finally, Robin as a demoness in hell that features the greatest One Piece character, DJ Satan. One Piece Short were kinda the same, but drawn and written by other mangakas. 2 of those mangakas we have already discussed in the high school spin-off segment. My favorite ones are Nico Robin's I Want to Live Comfortably by Tatsuya Suganuma. One of them features a scene where Robin falls off the sunny because he has big boobs. Yeah, these were cool, but not as great as the Straw Hat Theater. Norio Imamura. The first voice actor for Emporio Ivankov was Nori Imamura, a stage actor first and a voice actor second since he has done more stage plays compared to his voice acting. The only noteworthy voice role he has done that I know of is Gasgunk from Transformers Car Robots. He only played Ivankov in episode 438 to 460 and then later got recast with Mitsuo Iwata, popular for his voice roles as Shotaro Kaneda from Akira, from Dragon Ball Super, and the fat drunk guy from Moe. The reason for Norio's replacement is controversial. For you see, his hobby was getting tattoos that cost around 5 million yen and taking selfies with said tattoos. Fairly innocent enough until he accidentally took pictures of his tattoos that were under the belt, so to say. He was arrested for indecent exposure and was forced to step down in his role. But I've also heard another story that the reason was not the nude pics, but that the tattoos were related to the Yakuza, but I'm not 100% sure of it. And honestly, if you didn't know about the recasting, I bet you couldn't tell the difference because you don't have voice acting autism like me.
教えてくれるかしら?彼の居場所。あら困ったわね。ニューカマー憲法44のエステ奥義無駄毛処理権
Vicky the Viking. One of the most well-known inspiration for Oda's pirate series has been noted being Dragon Ball many times over and over again. But the bigger and arguably more aesthetic one is Vicky the Viking, a German-Austrian cartoon based on a Swedish children's book Vicky Viking. It's very obvious that Vicky and Vicky's aesthetic alone with the whole Viking thing inspired Elbaf. It also inspired Vinland Saga, a manga series about Vikings that features a character with my name, so that's neat. I never read and or seen an episode of both the old show or the CGI remake one. If any of you have seen it, then make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Speaking of, this script was written like a year ago, and now that the Elbaf arc is coming soon as I'm recording this segment now, it's gonna leave this segment to be very underwhelming. Nue. Before the Straw Hats went on a 5-year-long adventure to Wano, there was a non-canon Wano story to promote said arc called the Art Nue exhibit. Part of the One Piece Cross Kyoto event that included a rally where you would go around Kyoto to find stamps for every Straw Hat except Jinbei, Vivi, Karu, and Zeus. The Art Nue exhibit told an alternative story where the Shimada-styled Straw Hat pirates helped a Wano citizen named Torasuku save his fiancée Kikuhime, who should not be confused with Kikunojo, from her arranged marriage to Lark, the antagonist who looks like Sabo with Ace's eyes. Also, Toratsuku ate the devil fruit called Bird Fruit Model Nue, a mythical fruit that changed him into the yokai Nue, which this whole thing is named after. It's a Japanese chimera that has 2 different descriptions of its appearance, and only the second description mentions a bird, and it's a chicken of all things. In the canon story, there is a chicken smile fruit that isn't even called a bird fruit. Also, yokai devil fruit exist now, but are not called devil fruit as far as we know. Is that weird? Is this important? Am I rambling?
Yes.
Bounty Rush. Bounty Rush is a 4v4 mobile gacha game where you build a team of One Piece characters that play a capture the flag game with treasure instead of a flag, with gameplay similar to a real-time action RPG. It came out in 2018 and even to this day it's still being updated. The game also got a promotional manga made by Nakamaru. You might remember him for the Kobayama manga way back in Tier 3. As a game, I couldn't care less. But the manga, despite it being promotional material, is a fun read. Seeing characters that have never interacted before and probably won't or can't is always fun to see. LD Monkee. Dragon Fable is a free online RPG that has been going on since its beta in 2005. I've never played it and I can't tell you anything about this with the exception of this one specific thing. One of the many enemies in this game is a pirate monkey called LD Monkee, his design is a parody of Luffy, that's the joke. Smartphone prequels. The Smartphone prequels were two animated shorts for Film C and Film Gold, named Glorious Island and Film Gold Episode 0, that shows what the Straw Hats were doing before the events of said movies. These two special are really horny. Like, oh my god, what is going on with these? Some notes for these scenes include Seahorse, Franky pretending to eat a hamburger, Chopper drinking milk while dressed as a cow, and lastly, the volleyball game. I mean, the epic Luffy versus Franky sumo wrestling. Yeah, that's what we remember. Not the volleyball game. Like, I know there are fans out there who want to see the Straw Hats chill on the sunny, but we already have anime only and or TV specials that scratches that itch already. This is clearly similar with no big plot going on, so congrats. I would say Film Gold Episode 0 is probably the better of the two, cause the premise is them preparing to go to Gran Tesoro, and seeing Luffy and Franky sumo fight is both awesome and hilarious, while Glorious Island is just unapologetically horny. What can I say other than it continues to next time? Is Film C canon?
Will it canon? That is the question.
There are so many interesting Marines we could talk about in this segment. Kong, the highest ranked Marine, Bogart, who's probably a figment of Garb's imagination, and so many minor characters that have one interesting thing about them, but can't fill a whole segment. So I'm gonna make this segment about a Marine who got an entire movie, Zephyr from Film C. But before we talk about C, let's start off with the movie Strong World. The 10th One Piece movie and the first one to have Oda as an executive producer, making that movie almost a canon since it's heavily based on Shiki, who is canon to the story. After Strong World, movies like C, Gold, Stampede, and Red all have Oda as a producer and or a supervisor. Like Shiki, all the movies have characters who have some strong connection to the canon story. Although Strong World has been confirmed non-canon, there aren't many things contradicting it being otherwise, unless Oda introduces Shiki into the manga right here and now without his devil powers. But Strong World has more of a chance compared to Gold, Stampede, and Red, which have similar problems to the Dragon Ball Z movies. They don't make sense. But then there is the 12th movie, Film C. Film C is probably a contender of being considered one of the top 5 best One Piece films, telling the story of Zephyr, a former admiral who trained many of the future Vice Admirals and lost his family to a pirate and got his arm cut off by another pirate who would later be made a warlord, resulting in his resignation and the start of his journey to destroy the world. It's up to Luffy to punch this dying old man with asthma and ask the question of how this movie fits into the canon since there aren't that many things contradicting the main story. Film C takes place between Fishman Island and Punk Hazard. The bridging between both arcs asks the question of how much time takes place between scene when they surface with the island whales and when the snail call comes from Punk Hazard. In the manga, it feels like no time has passed, so that kind of debunks this movie being canon. But what most people remember when it comes to questioning the canonicity of C is with the pirate who cut C's arms off and later became a warlord. And speculating on who it was goes heavily into power scaling, timeline structure, and which one has the personality traits and motivation to do so. Because of the incident occurred during the time skip, most fingers point to Vivo, because our other candidates are... yeah. Honestly, if I were to retcon this movie, I would have made Blackbeard to be the guy who cut his arm off. Not only does that fit his character, but the insult to make this nobody at the time, a warlord, would make a guy like Zephyr want to blow up the world. Just saying. Also, I once came up with a theory that Citre from the shit-ass Citre Guild arc was Zephyr's son, which may be the most fanfic-ass thing. Then again, non-canon One Piece content is the most fanfic-ass thing out there. Anyway, here is my ranking of all the One Piece movies. Whoa, how original! Bustercall Project. Bustercall Project is Shueisha's official fan art project that featured 35 individual art pieces, animation, and even performance art, and you can find all of them on Instagram. Some of my favorites include Dr. Anthony T. Chopper by Dr. A, Buggy's Bad Trip by Dirty Worker Studio Japan, Thriller Bark by Kaiho, and The Battle of Rubber and Darkness by Mikuru Asakura. Eve by this man is my favorite video out of all the 4 in this project. Origin of Everything by Perimetron and Bink Sake's 1.3 times faster Gamni version come very close, and I can't find Ope Ope no Mi Intersubjectivity by God Scorpion and Plantation by Yar. Also, Shall We Dance by Yoko Yuki was good too, I guess. Honestly, I like all these pieces, but the weirdest one I discovered were Shiri Kurai by Taro Nikuguso, which definitely was a choice, and the 16th unnamed piece by Hikaru Narita. I can barely make out what it is, but all I can say is this quote goes hard as fuck. Yeah, this was pretty neat. Let's support real artists. As beautiful and experimental the art expedition is, I have to ask, why did they name this project after the fictional genocide protocol? Okay, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this is, but I've already put it here, so fuck it. The first OVA. Toei was not the first anime studio that got to adapt One Piece, and surprisingly would not be the last one. The very first One Piece anime was made by Production IG, who are famous for the original Ghost in the Shell movie and that racing anime that aired on Cartoon Network. One Piece to feed him the pirate Ganzack came out in July 1998, which was 1 year before the Toei anime, and it aired alongside 2 other OVAs, Hunter x Hunter by Studio Pierrot and Seki Matsu Leader Den Takeshi. The OVA tells an original story with Luffy, Zoro, and Nami facing off against the evil pirate Ganzack, who has a weird crab theme and is voiced by the legendary Norio Wakamoto. Speaking of voices, if you're very comfortable with the voices of the Straw Hats and have not seen this OVA, this is gonna surprise you. But honestly, if I wasn't already a fan of the regular cast, I would say Urara Takano, Wataru Takaki, and Megumi Toyoguchi do a stellar work as the OG Ace Blue Trio.
お前許さねえ絶対ぶっ飛ばすナミ一人でずらがるか
あら、味方になった覚えなんかないけど。
Also, Wataru Takaki is one of 3 voice actors from this OVA that got recast in the Toei anime, others being Tako Ishimori and Ikuya Sawaki. Also check it out if you want some stellar 90s anime animation. Surprisingly, the director of the OVA would later direct One Piece film Red. You can tell because he put his crabman in the movie. The premiere shows. Besides the SBS, this is my second favorite segment on the entire Iceberg. The One Piece premiere shows are annual events that depict the Straw Hats fighting original characters in a water park that's held at the Universal Studios Japan theme park. The 2012 show featured Chameleon, a former Whitebeard pirate member who ate the copy fruit that lets him copy other devil fruit's abilities. That could be the most broken power if left alone and not explored more. I gotta say though, I fuck with Chameleon's design, and it's likely the only design that includes a sketch by Oda. I wish the rest did though. And speaking of the rest, almost all the other devil fruit powers that these premiere shows introduce are almost the same power. How many times can we make fire-based power without it being actual fire? The answer is just as many times to make copies of devil fruits that just make copies that have tiny caveats to differentiate them from one another. Both have decent excuses for why they are reused, such as using the fireworks on set and having as many known canon characters in said show, even though they are all lies. The shows have become a yearly event that started from 2010, but the very first one was actually in 2007, featuring Deacon, the main villain from the 1990 film Waterworld. They decided to make this forgotten Kevin Costner movie canon to the premiere show, because the shows are shown in the Waterworld attraction. I say forgotten, but the fact that there is a whole part dedicated to the movie, then what do I know? I've never seen this water version of Mad Max, nor have I seen the Mad Max version of Mad Max. I've only watched and read Fistful and North Star because everyone should. Oh no! With that said, Waterworld is canon to One Piece, both in the premiere show world and the manga. The premiere shows are some wacky times, and if you can find some recordings of them, tell me which costume is the best and why it's Franky. Also, I've been to the Universal Studio Park in Japan, and it was a blast. I saw the Sing musical, the Universal Monster musical featuring Beetlejuice, and went to Nintendo Land. When it comes to other live stage shows, there's the Kabuki plays, Super Kabuki 2. Kabuki plays are like regular plays, but everyone wears white and red makeup and talks like this. One Piece has had 2 characters based on Kabuki actors, and this Kabuki show gave us this version of Chopper. Tom and Jerry. If you think for a second that I'm gonna say that this segment is about how Tom and Jerry was the inspiration for Gear 5, you are dead wrong. This is so low on this iceberg that I have to get a little weird. So there's this YouTube channel called which according to Google Translate is called Time Filling, which is an animation channel that recreates anime clips from One Piece and Naruto with Tom and Jerry characters. Sometimes SpongeBob and Doraemon appear, but the selling point is the cat and mouse duo. The discovery of this content is a fever dream, and I am not sorry.
Garfield!
Dyna Stones. Dyna Stones are non-canon exploding dinosaur eggs that explode upon direct exposure to oxygen that first appeared in Film C that the titular antagonist was going to use to blow up some islands, and are said to rival the 3 ancient weapons. You know, those things we have never physically seen and may or may not have seen in action. I can't say if this is a real thing, so we'll just have to wait and see. And the flavor text like that is whatever. It's just in this one movie, right? Wrong! It also had 2 other appearances in an OVA and a video game. First in the Heart of Gold special, where it becomes an accessory for this random character called Naomi Drunk, who drinks and is an archer. Second was in One Piece World Seeker, where it plays a major role in the finale of the game, where the villain wants to nuke Reverie. Wait, how is he the villain in this scenario? Now, if the actual agent weapons are just as cool as that, then we can all sleep well after filling that one spot on your One Piece mystery bingo. Return to the Reverie. When we discussed Arthur's Library of Ohara, we skimmed through a fan comic he made. That fan comic being Return to the Reverie, written by Arthur and art by Professor Gemini, a fanfic version of what happened during the Reverie while Wano was still ongoing, and now that we have seen what actually happened and onward, this AU version is something to behold. Major highlights including Ricardo, 5 elders' names, powers and abilities, Bonnie and Kuma's relationship, Swords to Intention, Dragon's backstory, and Imu's true identity. There are, however, 2 things in this fanfic that reflect on what actually happens in the manga. Those are Green Bull's Stealth Route and Cobra's fate. Also Miyak's Bounty with only one number difference, but they can all be winners. Then there are also plot points in this comic that have not been debunked, but are just as wild of a speculation. Despite the poorly aged predictions, I recommend this comic. You can really tell that this was written with passion. I say this again, Arthur, thank you, and please stop watching this video. FBI! Franky vs Nero for Kid Stop. Made by Chris Taud, known for his online name of Foulero, who has been part of the Bridge community for a long time. Known for making his own A-series like Null Metal Alchemist.
See how the failed resurrection of our mother would amuse you, sir. She's gonna make us dinner anymore, so what's the point in having her?
And Danganronpa, a Bridge thing.
I'm half hope and half despair. Despair. You get it? I don't get any of this.
But probably is best known for playing Knuckles the Echidna in Sonic F and many Sonic Paradox shorts. In his olden days of making short abridged shorts, he made a spoof video of a One Piece scene that was never dubbed by 4Kids, by dubbing it like it was made by 4Kids. For the said video, he picked the Franky vs Nero fight during the ending of Water 7. Remember Nero? I blame you if you do. We could speculate and make many jokes about how the 4Kids dub would dub everything post Alabasta. No, not that post Alabasta. You know what I mean. But giving Franky a terrible Arnold the Pitbull voice is almost perfect.
Looks like this one's up in the air.
Also, the Speedo is edited as shorts and puns come out every 5 seconds.
From now on, there'll be no horsing around. Hold your horses. This new form will give me a leg up on the competition.
This video may have been removed by Forello, but it's still online and you can see it in all of its glory.
Transformation!
All I can do, and all you can do. How about that get transformed?
Buggy stops the war. Like anything else, One Piece has an abundance of cool and cute fan art around the internet. And there's many high school alternate universes and shipping art we get. We also get this weird third category of agenda memes that are either played for laughs or made in MS Paint by psychopaths. One of the most memorable ones was a little piece of Buggy fan art, a strange redrawing of Shanks stopping the war at Marineford. But instead of Shanks, it was Buggy the whole time. How Buggy looks in the manga compared to this, beyond cursed. This led to various fan comics of Buggy becoming a Giga Chat and clowning on various antagonists of high power and strength. But we all know power levels are bullshit, so this might just be canon. There is this panel where Buggy uses Conqueror's Haki to neutralize members of the Blackbeard crew, which implies a lot of things. And also another panel where Buggy uses his awakened ability to separate Burgess's body into many squares, and as cool as that visual is, doesn't Law do that? Doesn't Trafalgar Law do that? Isn't that what he is known for? I think I've said pretty much everything I needed to say. Yeah.
One Piece novels. When it comes to One Piece novels, there are two types, adaptations and original stories. Adaptation novels are most of the time based on the movies and other fillers. It wasn't until 2017 that we would get a bunch of original novels, beginning with the Straw Hat stories by Tomohiro Ozaki, a bunch of short stories about the Straw Hats doing their own thing from the perspective of other characters. But it wasn't until a year later in 2018, we would get one of the most well-known One Piece novel series, One Piece novel with Volume 1 by Sho Hinata and Volume 2 by Tatsuya Hamasaki. These novels would tell the story of Port Gusty Ace from when he went to sea to the present day with his own supporting characters, rivals and enemies, and frankly expanded on Ace more than the actual story. 2 years after that, in 2020, we would get novel Law by Akinari Sakagami, the origin of Lost Pirates crew, and lastly, not counting the Odyssey novel, we would get the novel Heroines by Akinari Sakagami, a collage of short stories of the One Piece female cast that are all drawn by Sayaka Suwa. Reiju looks like Ulala from Space Channel 5 for some reason. Want It. Wanted is the very first one-shot that Oda made in 1992, or at least the one that came out. It's a cowboy story that tells the tale of Gil Bastar, the most wanted man in all of the Wild West, with a bounty of 97 million centi. Wait, what? And the various individuals that try to take his head despite his skills as a sharpshooting outlaw are highly exaggerated since it's all dumb luck. It's a fun little read, and it kinda reminds me of Trigon without the sci-fi tack and the depressing second half. The one-shot is known to inspire one of his mangaka friends, Shimabukuro. Remember him? Let's try not to. And it was also referenced in One Piece the movie end credits, where Gil Bastar and Wild Joe are included in the animated version of the college bed for chapter 79, an episode of Chopper where we see two bounty posters for Wild Joe and Henna Oyak that appear in the beginning of the movie for a split second. If Wanted would have been the actual series Oda would make, would Gil Bastar be as iconic as Luffy is? Would he get top billing in Jump fighting games? Would there be a character based on Calamity Jane, and would she have big boobs? The answer is yes to that last one. Iki Yako. Iki Yako was the third one-shot Oda made, and it tells the story of Guko, the cowardly monk who fights a cannibal who killed his master. Despite his cowardice, he actually has amazing skills with the sword. Overall, a fun little read, and the only connecting thread Iki Yako has with One Piece is that the cannibal has a cameo in an episode of Chopper in a bounty poster worth 1.5 million belly, being the 7th lowest non-canon bounty, just higher than Hana Oyak from Wanted and just below DR from Monsters. Guko also may have made a cameo in Monster, but that's a high speculation, like the speculation that Guko's cowardly nature may have inspired Usopp. Will of the P. Death in One Piece is quite a hot debate. Their biggest usage is in flashback scenes, and are noted to be quite the tearjerker scenes. While almost all the time in the present story, it rarely happens, and when it does, it's a big surprise. However, the most controversial moment are the fake death scenes, which there are a lot. There are 3 characters known for having a lot of similarities: Pell, Pagaya, and Pound. All names that start with the letter P, all are either fathers and or guardian figures, and yes, all of them have fake death scenes played with a big dramatic flair, only for them to be revealed at the end of their arcs, or worse in a cover story, to be alive. This controversial pattern has led to the meme term Will of the P, an obvious reference to the Will of the D. The D refers to characters who die with a smile, the P refers to characters who are immune to death. However, one character who shares all these traits with all 3 characters was Pedro, who managed to break the pattern by actually dying. Was it as impactful as any other death scene? I'll let you decide. It did, however, fuel the carrot for straw at hype train. Yeah, that was fun while it lasted. Fake Akainu. Let's talk about the worst aspect of every fandom, the spoiler community. Nowadays, people don't speak Japanese are just as eager to know what happens in the next chapter. So some people leave leaks of raw screenshots from the magazine the manga comes in is good enough to satisfy them. Also, they must know a little bit of Japanese since they write in context on what's happening in said chapter. So why aren't they just translating it? Just an annoying experience we get to live with. But did you know there was a time some people didn't just spoil what happened, but flat out lied? That's right, there was a weird period of time during the late 2000s where fans just either edited them together to make it into an actual scene or, and this is my favorite part, drew them. These redraws are terrible, and only 2 of them are noteworthy. First one was female Luffy disguised as an Impel Down Guard, but that one was a source material from the manga since it's based on then recent SBS drawing of the Straw Hats gender swapped at the time. But then there is fake Akainu. While real Akainu had not fully appeared in the manga at this moment in time, this drawing was made from scratch. I had to ask people on Reddit where the fake Akainu picture originated from. Thankfully, I got some answers, and the post was removed because I shared a pic without giving the source, even though the whole reason I posted it was because I was asking for a source. One comment helped me write and do research for this, while the other one told me this fake Akainu was made to look like Takeshi Kitano Kitano. Since the Admiral's whole design aesthetic is based on Japanese actors, the artist thought Takeshi would be the next best thing after Yusaku Matsuda and Kuine Tanaka. Sadly for B. Takeshi, the real Akainu would be based on Bunta Sugawara, whom I know for playing the Spider Eggman from Spirited Away. But thankfully Takeshi played Satoichi in 2003, a bland samurai character that was portrayed by the late Shintaro Katsu from the 60s to the 80s, who would be the inspiration for Fujitora. As a bit of a stretch, but you know, a funny coincidence. And that's it for Tier 5. Tune in next time for the finale.
That's all, folks.